just saw Justice League, and this is something I've been waiting to see for a while. I'm not a huge comic book fan, despite all my nerdy obsessions. I'm actually like not that big on comics, but I do enjoy.
You're a comic book fan. You read like all the Batman stuff.
I do read a lot of Batman, yeah. So I do know a lot about.
I don't
Batman,
think you mean to say that you're not a comic book fan. I think you mean to say.
I don't know as much as most people.
Yeah,
Well, not as most people. I'd say there's people who are more dedicated to this type of stuff as I am. So I.
Well, you're a fan of comic books.
Yeah, I am.
All right.
Okay. I've been waiting for a Justice League movie for a while because I just felt like it's, we just had it coming. Like it just had to come eventually, and now it's here. So
we did Avengers, so they had to do this.
Yeah, and the first thing I want to say that I really approve of. First of all, did you like it or?
I thought it was all right.
Yeah, like it wasn't like great. I think Wonder Woman was the best one this year so far. Spider-Man: Homecoming was really good too.
Well, that's Marvel, but I liked Spider-Man. That was probably my favorite, but Wonder Woman was good too. So DC had, because I forget what your opinion was of Batman versus Superman, but
it was a mess.
Yeah, I didn't really like Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
But then they brought it back with Wonder Woman. That was a good one, and then this one was kind of like,
Yeah, like if you're gonna compare it, it's nothing special, really. But it's better than Batman versus Superman.
It is.
Much better than Suicide Squad. That was one of my concerns. I was like, Suicide Squad. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, you're not missing much. It just felt like a bunch of movies.
You saw it?
Like, I did, yeah. But
how's the Joker in it?
The Joker was not bad, but actually one of my favorite
was
parts
that better?
Well, you're better as the Joker. No, the parts with Harley Quinn and the Joker, I think, had potential. Like if they would have elaborated on those scenes more. But anyway, that movie it just felt like a bunch of different movies that got like stitched together, but in like a bad way, not like in a fun way. It was just like, it was just really a mess. Yeah. This one was actually very consistent, I thought. Like it was
Justice League?
Yeah. It was at least like it felt like one movie.
I mean, the positive things I can say was it was a story that made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a beginning, middle, and ending. I felt it was very sort of cartoonish for this kind of thing. I don't know if you've seen many of like the DC animated like features, which a lot of those are pretty good. And I felt like this movie reminded me of one of those animated features, except like one of the okay ones. It's not like one of the better ones if it was done with live action. So like, and that's the feeling
like
I got.
It's pretty in the generic.
Yeah, it's
area.
It's like fine. They told a basic story.
Yeah.
There was a bad guy that they have to contend with, and it's like your typical.
They got energy cubes that they're looking for. Like,
what is it? It's like Megatron.
Yeah, like how many times are we going to see that? There's always something that they're trying to.
There's always the thing.
It's a generic movie, is what we're saying.
It is.
The first thing that I really approve of, though, is that they stuck to 2 hours. And maybe this wasn't the best one. Like, if you're going to go over 2 hours, at least do it to Justice League because it has all these different superheroes in it. Like, why was Batman versus Superman over 2 hours? That was like 2.5 hours.
Because they're focusing on two characters, and it didn't need to be.
But this one, they're focusing on, like, a whole bunch of them. But it didn't really focus on them. It felt like you needed more time for these. I know a lot of people seem to be saying that they wished it was longer. And I really hope that doesn't send out the wrong message to Warner Brothers. I would really love them to, in the future, like if you're doing a movie about one superhero or two superheroes, try to stick to 2 hours. It depends on the movie, really. It really depends on the movie. But I think I'm tired of it always having to be like over 2 hours. Like, can we ever just make it under 2 or at 2 and just make that, and this one did that. And I was just happy that hopefully we'll see more that don't go too long.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. Sometimes they go too long, but with this one, I really felt like with certain characters, some of the characters were like really underdeveloped, like Cyborg and the Flash. I would have loved to see more of those characters. Like, I don't need to see like, a ton more, but I felt that like they didn't have a lot of backstory there. Like, I don't really know who the Cyborg is very much. I don't really know who the Flash character is much other than Batman's like, so what do you do? Oh, you're fast. Okay, he's set up, and it's like,
and there might be a lot of deleted scenes that give you that.
Right? Maybe maybe there is an extended edition or something, which might make it better. I don't know, but
So maybe this wasn't the best one to cut it to 2 hours, but I really do think that generally they should stick to 2 hours.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
2 hours or less.
So let's go down each character, I guess.
Okay.
Let's start with Aquaman.
Okay.
What do you think of Aquaman in this movie?
Surprisingly, I liked him. I didn't think I was gonna like him because I don't. I know quite a bit about Batman, but I don't know anything about Aquaman or any of the others really. Most of the others. So yeah, I actually liked him more than I thought I would.
I was concerned going into it because with the trailer, there's that shot where he like jumps off the building onto the Batmobile and he's like, yeah. And
sometimes it's just a choice of what they put in these trailers. It's
I felt like he was kind of like Macho Man Randy Savage or something, and I was just sort of like, I don't know about that. But then when I saw the movie, I actually liked Aquaman a lot. The old version of Aquaman, remember he used to have like the blonde hair, and he was very like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He was never really my favorite. He had like the orange, bright
yeah.
orange and everything. So they updated him, and they almost made him look like somebody out of like a heavy metal band or something. Like he looks a lot more badass now. And so I thought Aquaman was definitely he was pretty good. So Wonder Woman, I thought
she's
great again.
Great,
She was great. She's a great actress. I really like her. I like the movie. She was great in this too. She's perfect. So then we have Cyborg. Like I said, I thought he was a little underdeveloped. I wanted to see more. I felt like I didn't care enough because they should have given him I felt like one more scene to tell a little bit more about him.
He's probably the one I knew the least about.
Yeah,
him
and I still feel like I don't know enough about him.
Yeah, you know what? I'm kind of bored of the effects when somebody's a cyborg these days. It's such you can just tell it's like, okay, well they just added some digital stuff to he has the red eye.
Yeah.
It just I've seen it so many times and I don't have any attachment to the comics with those characters.
Yeah.
So these movies a lot of times are what introduces me to them. So I kind of felt like Cyborg was just
Yeah. Then there was the Flash.
Yeah.
I like the Flash a lot. I like the actor who played him. I thought he did it well.
The Flash was the one that I was waiting for the most, I think, because all this time I was like, when are they going to do a movie about the Flash?
Yeah.
And I guess he didn't get his own. He got a TV series, but I don't know if that's connected with these.
But he hasn't been in a feature.
Yeah.
Like this.
I thought he was a little bit annoying, actually. He was just like, oh wow, you dress like a bat or anything? That's real cool. Like, wow.
There were parts of it that I thought were kind of funny, and then there was other parts that I didn't like. The part I didn't like was when they go down to the not to ruin anything, I guess, but it's a spoiler, I guess. But they go into the bat cave, and he's like, the bat cave or whatever, or something like that. Oh, there's bats, and that part I was like, okay, this is
my blood sugar. I gotta watch. But
yeah,
it's like okay, he had a shtick, and when they have a shtick and it's really noticeable, sometimes it's
I think I didn't mind it at first, but then as the movie went on, I guess it started to drag a little bit more. The shtick, but I thought that he looked awesome, like the special effects and everything, and how he looked. And I always liked the Flash character, and it's cool what they did.
Yeah.
They did a little bit in the movie of the speed versus
I
Superman.
never really knew that there was a thing with that.
That's that's a fan thing.
Is it like a debate? There's no nobody knows who's faster.
That's the old debate: who's faster, Superman or the Flash? So they toyed with that.
From the movie, I didn't really like that as much because I was like, well, I wish the Flash was faster because that's his thing.
All he has.
It's that's all he has. So why now is he being
why is it being debated?
Upstaged? Yeah, it's oh come on,
yeah.
Yeah. And also,
well, they didn't answer it though. They didn't say that. Superman's faster or anything.
Yeah.
So they just toyed with it because I think I don't know.
I suppose people know it's the Justice League. It has to have Superman.
Yeah.
So I don't really think it's a surprise that Superman is in it.
Sure.
But what a stupid idea to kill him in the second movie in Batman versus Superman. I really didn't like that they killed him that early, only to bring him back again because it's predictable.
Oh my god, it was so predictable. And as soon as you see Steppenwolf, the thought in my head was okay, so the villain Steppenwolf, and as soon as I see him, I'm like, okay, well, this guy's trying to turn himself into some kind of god or whatever. The only person that's going to be able to defeat him is going to be Superman. So Superman's going to have to come back. And I'm just thinking back to the comics. I'm like, okay, if there was a comic book and Steppenwolf was the bad guy and Superman was in it, like Superman's gonna kick this guy's ass. He's just some like kind of generic villain. I'm like, it was playing out very much like when I went to the theater and saw like the Tim Burton Batman movie. Yes, it's a comic book movie, but I felt like there was more of like a sense of like realism, or it was just like better done somehow. In that, and even actually also the Christopher Nolan movies also I felt were just like more realistic, more gritty, and this one was kind of just like very lighthearted, and I couldn't it was good and bad, but I felt it was more bad because I felt like it was so lighthearted that I was having a hard time caring about anything.
Yeah, I like that. Because one of the things I didn't like about Batman versus Superman is that it was just so dark. And not dark as in like, you know, a good way. It was dull. Like it was very dreary. I'm like, we're still going for this. Like, but when I saw the first scene in this where Batman was on the rooftops, I was like, this rooftop.
I like that opening.
Yeah, I was like, this looks like comic darkness. Yeah. The kind that I like. I was like, wow, this looks like a Batman movie. Yeah. So I like that.
The opening was really cool.
The villain, though,
it made me want it. That opening made me want the movie just to be like Batman. To be honest, like if the whole movie like just him, I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, they say there's going to be another standalone Batman. Yeah. You know, we'll see what happens.
And I mean, I like the other characters. I'd like to see a standalone Flash movie, or any of these characters, but.
I felt like that. You know what? Here's the thing: they should have done all that first. They should have. I still think that this movie should have been 2 hours, the way it is. But they should have done each of those heroes first as their own movies.
Yeah, they just like jumped to it.
Like parts of this movie should have been those movies. It should have just been like do an Aquaman movie, do a Flash movie. Luckily, we got a Wonder Woman movie. Because it seems like
I feel like they jumped to this first because they're trying to play catch up with Marvel.
Because they're so late to it, which was the problem, and nobody can do them as fast as Disney, Marvel.
And now the problem is, I don't think this movie was as good as the Avengers. It was
the Avengers. They got to do all those characters first. So the villain, his name was Steppenwolf, correct? Yeah. He kind of looked like Tim Curry in Legend. I just want to call him Goat Man or Ram Man or something like that. Goat Man. I don't know. He was just kind of like your average like monster.
Yeah, he would have been a good like action figure like for like Masters of the Universe or something.
I was glad they called him by name. I mean, they say his name all throughout. They do. So for somebody who doesn't know about the comics as much, it's nice to have them actually introduce him and give him a name so you know what to call him.
You know, I can say I liked the scene that they did where it was like the war between the Amazons and like the evil people. It's sort of like his backstory in the middle of the movie. That like war
like that big Lord of the Rings type battle.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
You know what part I thought was really funny was so Aquaman's kind of reluctant to join the team, but you know, of course, he eventually does. And then Batman says, "Well, what made you change your mind?" And he's like, "Steppenwolf." And I was like, "Oh, he was listening to the radio, and Born to Be Wild came on, and he got all pumped up."